Did you know that with a simple pencil you can improve your welding technique? I'm going to show you some tricks that will help you improve your stability, precision, and control while welding. This will help you whether you're a beginner or already have experience in welding. These tricks will help you improve your welding. When I was starting out, it was these tricks that helped me get better at welding. First, let's talk about something fundamental in welding: precision. It also means having control over the rhythm, the pressure, and the direction. An experienced welder knows that every movement matters and that any change in width or speed can affect the weld. First, we hold the pencil as if it were the electrode. This helps your hands get used to the movement and the precision you need to weld without mistakes. For this exercise, we will need a graph paper and a pencil. You can also use a pen, but if it's a pencil, that's much better. We are going to draw dots. Leave 2 squares between them, which means it's 1 centimeter, just like I have it drawn here already. In this exercise, we are going to connect the dots without resting your hand or breaking the pencil tip. In this case, I'm going to use a pen so it shows up better in the video. Focus on having a uniform and steady stroke. Using the pencil helps you work on speed and pressure. If you go too fast, the stroke will be thin. If you go slowly, the stroke will be thick. And if you press too hard, you'll break the tip of the lead. Repeat this exercise several times until you feel you have good control over the line. Once you've practiced it, we're going to place the pencil on the electrode holder and do the same line exercise. A key aspect in welding is pressure and speed. As I mentioned earlier, with the pencil you control the force as you press on the paper. If you press too hard, the line will be thicker. In welding, this would mean that the bead is very wide. The idea is to find a balance, not too soft and not too hard, to get a consistent line. To practice welding, we are going to use 2 metal sections so we can join them together. With the electrode and the machine turned off, we are going to simulate the line we drew with the pencil, simply sliding it backward. Ideally, the metal section should not be made of thin metal. This is so you can practice the exercise properly without burning through the material. After several practices, we can try with thin metal. Now we put on our safety gear and do one last test. It's important to be comfortable in order to weld better. Comfort is essential for achieving a good weld. To do this weld, I'm going to use a 6013 electrode 2.5 at 75 amps. Sorry if you can't see the weld bead clearly because of the filter. But I'm looking for a way to record it better so you can clearly see the... Controlling the speed is essential. If you go too fast, the weld bead can end up very thin and spotty. If you go too slow, the bead will be too thick or have too much weld buildup. If you're going to weld thin material, welding slowly will burn through the material. This is how the weld bead looks. And as you can see, the slag lifted off by itself completely and evenly. This means that the right amperage and a steady pace were used. Now let's do the next exercise. We're going to make 2 straight lines with a gap of 2 squares between them. That is 1 centimeter. We're going to make crescent-shaped movements. This is a very common movement in welding. Let's try to make the tips of the crescents touch both lines. Like this. First, we practice with our hand, and then we'll move on to putting the pencil in the electrode holder. And we repeat the exercise. Then you'll see that your control with the electrode will be much better, especially during delicate movements. This previous exercise with the pencil makes things much easier. It's almost as if your hand already knows what to do. To weld, we are going to use 2-tack welded plates. We'll repeat the crescent-shaped exercise. I'm going to weld at 90 amps. First, I'm going to weld slowly and make wide crescent shapes. Now I'm going to weld slowly, making narrow crescent shapes. And now I'm going to weld quickly, making wide crescent shapes. At first glance, after finishing the weld, you can see the crescent shapes in the weld bead. As you can see in the first section, you can notice some big wide crescent shapes. They're like mountains. This happened because I was slow and made wide movements, and the mountains are weld buildup. This happened because I was slow and made wide movements. And in the middle, you can see how I narrowed the width of the crescents, but I kept a slow speed. You can also see crescents that look like mountains. And finally, I moved faster. You can notice that the weld bead has good penetration without any weld sticking out, so to speak, without any mountains. Once you finish welding, you'll be able to see what mistake you made so you can improve it. By practicing these exercises, you'll be able to improve your welding. And if you like this video, don't forget to follow me. It would help me a lot.